Okay, so okay, so let's start today's class. Last time we finished partially of this trade-off example. We finished the first step. So the first cycle, we cutted B. So as I mentioned, we need, let me refill in this diagram first. So last time we calculated, this is 1, 6, 6, 6, 6, 16, 12, 14, and over here this is 16, 25, and this is 14, 20, 14, and 23, and over here this is 25 and 30, and then we calculate those lines. This is a double line, this is a double line, this is a double line. Over here, this is double line, this is 2, this is 4, and over here there's a 5. This is a double line, this is a double line, and over here, this is a double line, and this is not, this is a 2. So last time we cut through B, and as I mentioned, to calculate the NIH, we need separate this, use a line to cut this network completely to two separate parts. The line can only pass through numbers, not the double line or triple line. So triple line means over here, here, and here. This is the critical path. And then we calculated last time, we cutted B for 2 days. So B use 2 days, have 1 day left. Have 1 day left. So over here, we changed that to 8 already. So over here, we changed this to 8, and the 6 plus 8, this one changed to 14, and this one 14 plus 9 is 23. So this one 23 over here, this is 23 plus 5, 28. In addition to this reactivity, we also need to deduct over here, 14 minus 12, this changed to 2. This 23 minus 20, this changed to 3. And 23 minus 23, this is 0. So over here, another double line pop up. So over here, this is a new critical path come out. You can see this is one critical path, and then this one is a new critical path. A new critical path, because everywhere is 0 for this one. If one project have 2 critical paths, then if we want reduce the total duration, what shall we do then? So the answer is we need to cut an activity on both lines. So for example, if you cut one activity along this one, then the other critical line will keep the same duration. Then you didn't get the project total duration shortened. So that's why we have to cut both lines. So, and some activity is on both critical activity, both critical path. So if it's a common one, you cut that one, that works. If it's not a common one, then you have to pick one activity on each critical path. So in other words, if I have two critical paths, one is A, B, E, H, the other one is A, D, G, H, I have to cut. So how to cut it? So I can cut A. A is on both critical paths. So if I shorten A, that works. Or if I shorten H, that works because H is on both critical paths. So H works as well. So if I want to cut B, if I only cut B, it doesn't work. I have to pick one activity on each line, each critical path. So then we use combinations. So one critical path, you have BE, the other one is DE. So we cut both B and D. That works. One activity on each line. And then B and G also works. One activity on each line. And then E and D works. And then E and G also works. So we have 4 letter combinations in addition to that common activities A and H. So either way is fine. So we have 6 different options to cut, to shorten this network right now, because there are 2 critical paths. So this is the key part. So this is actually my cycle 2. Then same as cycle 1, we need to compare what is the price for each option. So for A is already crushed, so it's not an option actually. And the B and D, we know B need $20, D need $100. So cut both of them, then need $120 per day. And then B and G, B is $20, G is over here, is $40. So 20 plus 40, cut BG, got $60. Okay, and then E and D, E is $30, D is $100. So E and D need $130. And the last one, E and G. E is again $30, G is $40, E and G is $70. And the H need $90. So as we mentioned, the rule of thumb is to pick the cheapest option. So we're gonna cut B and G over here. So the second cycle in this table is B and G. Okay. Second cycle is B and G over here. So let's see how many days can be cut. B have only 1, and G over here have 2. I want to cut both. So the B can only be cut 1 day. So I want both cut the same day. So then can be cut is the smaller number between these 2. Smaller number between the availability of these 2 activity. So 1 is a common one, is the smaller number. I need to cut both activity for the same days. I can cut this whole project for that day. So I want to cut B for 1 day and G for 1 day then. So NIH, similar as before. So last time, this is my cycle 1's cut. Now I want to cut B and G. B and G. So again, similar as last round, last cycle, I need to cut B and G, and the line should go through all the numbers, not any walls, all the numbers, not any double line, not any triple line. So I should cut this way. Go here, go here. So this way, this is my cycle 2. So that one, this line can separate this network to completely 2 separate parts. Okay, this is my line 2. So if this is my line 2, then the smallest number along this line. So over here, this is 2. Over here, this is 3. Smaller number is the NIL number. So that is 2. Okay, and then how many days shortened? So is compare this to the activities allow to cut 1 day. Network allow to cut 2 days. So I can only cut 1 day for over here. So this round per price per day is what we calculated over here is $60. I only cut it 1 day, so I spend $60. And then the total cost is gonna be $60 more than that. So it's $24.30. And cut it 1 day, over here, this changed to 26. Now we need to modify our model again. So modify the model, this cut 1 day. So over here, change to 7. This one over here, 9 change to 8. So calculate that, 6 plus 7, this is 13. And then this is 14 plus 8, this is 22. And all the activity after the cutting line on the right-hand side of the cutting line need to be adjusted. So this one need to be adjusted. E need to be adjusted as over here 13. This change to 13 plus 9, this change to 22. And then 22, 22 over here, this change to 22 plus 5, 27. That match with the total 26 days because that's an early morning of day 27. In addition to that, along the line, all the numbers need to be shortened. This is 13, 12, so this number changed to 1. And then over here, this 22, 20, so 22, 20, this number changed to 2. So now we updated the network. Okay, this is cycle 2. Over here, we know cycle 2, we cut it B for 1 day, so this changed to 7. Over here is crushed, the B is already crushed. And then B and G. G, we cut it 1 day, this changed to 8. Over here, we have 1 day left. So we updated the table as well. Now, let's work on cycle 3. Okay, I'm gonna erase over here, cycle 3. So cycle 3, cycle 3. Cycle 3, you can see after last round cut, there's no line change to double line. So there's no new critical activity, no new critical path appeared. So this is a good news. That means the option we have is still same. The only difference is the B is already crushed. So B is not an option anymore. So let me erase this one and this one. B is not an option. So all the options for B is crushed right now. We only have this left. ED, EG, and H. Compare these 3, cycle 3, we need pick E and G because this needs $70. It's a cheaper one. So we're gonna cut E and G for cycle 3. So you can see E over here, E have 4 days, G have only 1 day left. So the smaller number is 1 day. So to cut both activity is 1 day. And then NIH, we're gonna cut E and G. This time we cut E over here and G over here. This is my third cut. So again, this line, this cutting line can only pass through the lines with numbers, So this one is relatively easier. This line is relatively easier because we want to cut E and G. We just simply cut through this line over here. This is my third cut, this line. Okay, so if you think drawing those lines on one single page of network is very confusing, it's messy. Actually, during the exam, I will give you multiple, you can use multiple page of cutting line. So I will show you in the handout I gave you in the spreadsheet, you can see for each cutting line, I marked one separate page. So if that's clear, you can use that. But over here, for convenience, for me to show you the procedure, I just cut everything on a single page of a network diagram. So this is my cycle 3's cut. And then you can see this cut through only pass through over here. This line, the number is 2. So the NIH is 2. And then select smaller number is the days we gonna cut. So this is 1. So cost per day is $70 as we calculated for cycle 3. And then cut this for this whole cycle because only 1 day, 1 multiplied by 70, this is 70. And over here, update the total cost. 2430 plus 70 is 2500 even. And then this deduct 1 day, this change to 25. So this is the cycle 3. Cycle 3, after I finish cycle 3, I need to update the table, I need to update the network. So we already cut this one, this 9 changed to 8. Okay, that 9 changed to 8, and also over here, this 8 changed to 7. Okay, and I need to upgrade all the activity on the right-hand side of this line. So that 13 plus 8, this changed to 21, and this one, 14 plus 7, this changed to 21. So 21, 21, this one changed to 21, and plus 5 changed to 26. In addition to the activity on the right-hand side of the cutting line, also the number along the cutting line should be upgraded. So 21 minus 20, this one changed to 1. Okay, and then after we upgrade all the network, we will come back to change the table. So this round, we cut it E and G. So E cut it 1 day, so right now it's 8. So we have still 3 days left. And then G cut it another day, so this is 7. So if 7 is already equal to crash time, so this is used. So that's 0. Okay, we updated everything in the table and we updated the network. Now, next one. So now we know this G is also crashed. So everything with G is not an option for cycle 4. So now let's see my cycle 4. my cycle 4, G is already crashed. So G is not an option anymore. So we have the network is still same. So no new critical paths, no new critical activity pop up. So the options kept the same. Then we have ED and H as the option. Right now, H is the cheaper one. So cycle 4, we're gonna pick H to cut. Okay, we're gonna pick H to cut. H, let's see how many days H have. In the table over here, H only have 1 day available. So can be shortened, is 1. And then the network, the NIL is, right now we want to cut H. We want to separate this network to completely 2 parts. How are we going to cut that? So actually H is absolute last activity. So whatever the cutting way, it doesn't impact anything on this network. So this line is already separate. This is cut 4. This line is already separate this whole network to 2 pieces. One is everything with half H. The other half is half H. So that already separated that. So this one doesn't pass through any lines. That means the network have no impact on this NIH. So there's no impact. Whatever the cutting way, if you cut H, how many days you pick, you can pick any available dates. So that means the network doesn't have any limitation on the cutting day. So that talk about NIH, this means no limitation, it's infinity. You can cut it as you want. Okay, so compare this one and the infinity. This two, we select smaller one, so we can only cut H for 1 day. So H can only be cutted by 1 day. So this round cut H is $90 per day. And so we only cut it 1 day, so this cycle is $90. Update the total cost, $25.90. And then deduct 1 day is 24. Okay, this round is finished. Now we need to update the model and the table. So the model, we cut it 1 day, this changed to 4. 21 plus 4, this changed to 25. It matched with the 24 we calculated here. And then there's no other impact because we only cut it here. So there's no other activity on the right-hand side of H, and there's no line has been passed through. So that's the only one. Need to update it. And we updated the table over here. The 5 changed to 4. And over here, this 1 day is used. So H is crashed. Now let's see the cycle 5. So now, after we cut that, cycle 5 is the network still be same. It just only change is H is crashed. So right now, A, B, G, H are all crashed. So the only option is cut ED. So this round, we're gonna cut E and D. Cut ED. This is cycle 5. Okay, to cut ED, let's see, D has 2 days available, E has 3 days available. So 2 days and 3 days, select the smaller number is 2. And let's see NIH. We're gonna cut D and E. So cut this two. I want to separate the network to 2 completely separate sections. So the line should be go through here, pass through the 2, and pass through this. So this is my cycle 5's path. So if you think this, again, if you think the drawing is confusing, you can go ahead, go to next slides. That show you clearly what is each cut. Okay, I use separate pages to show you how did the cut, how the cut pass through the line. Okay, so anyway, this is the cycle 5 cut. It passed through only this line with 2 on the line. So the NIH gave us is 2. Okay, and 2 and 2, select smaller number. This round, we're gonna cut 2 days. And the cut 2 days, this round need $130 per day. So the total of this round, $260. Update the total amount, use 2590 plus this 260, we got $2850. And cut it 2 days, this changed to 22. Okay, and cut this line, we need to update that again. This E changed to 6 days, this D changed to 6 days. So then this 13 plus 6, this changed to 19. And then all the lines after, all the activity after this line need to be updated. So this one, 6 plus 6, this is 12. Then over here, this guy is changed to 12. 12 plus 6, this is 18. And this guy, 12, changed to 12, plus 7 is 19. So 19, 18, 19. So this one changed to 19. This one changed to 23. So we updated all the activities. Then the lines over here, this one, this is 12, 12, this changed to 0. And then this is a new double line. So even with this as a new double line, and there's no new critical path, still be the top one and bottom one, because critical path has to be, the line need to be 0 from the beginning to the end. If with this one, so this is 0, this is 0, but here you still have 1. So this is not a new critical path. No new critical path is available. So that means over here, we cut it D and E. So D cut it 2 days, changed to 6. This one cut it 2 days, changed to 6. So over here, D is crashed. This one E have 1 day left. So D is crashed. So over here in this network, over here after cycle 5, this one is D is crashed. So you can see no new critical activity appeared. So every option in this critical path has been crashed. All the option is gone. So at this time, I will say the whole network is crashed. Then we can stop over here. We finish the analysis. Now, after we finish the analysis, what is the important part in the table? So this total cost and the project duration. This part is important. We use the project duration as the x-axis, use the total cost as the y-axis. Draw this curve based upon this 2 line, based upon this 2 column, then that gave you the trade-off curve. So the trade-off curve look like the next page. Let me give you 2 minutes to finish it right after this, and then I will show you the curve. Give you 2 minutes to fill in this table and draw the lines. If again, if you think the line I draw to demonstrate that is too messy, actually in the note I will show you a little bit later. I provided all the detailed for each. Oops. It seems I shifted a little bit. Let me shift it back. Oh, actually, no, I think it's a wrong page, right? Okay. Oops. Okay. Okay. So is everybody finished that? So if not, I will post a recorded video online today, and you can go through that again. So now I'm gonna move on, and I'm gonna erase all the handwritings over here. Clear all drawings. Okay, so now I can go back to this this page again. So we don't need that table anymore. So this is original one, and then this is the first round of filling all the network and identify all the critical paths and find all the lag number on the line. This is the first step, and this is a table, and then we fill in this table to calculate the normal time, crash time, normal cost, crash cost, and then time the difference and find the slope. And then over here, this is a step one cut. I cut over here. And then this is the step two cut. Okay, and then this is the step three cut E and G. And this is step four cut H only. And this is step five cut. So each step, each cycle of cutting, you need to completely separate this network to two sections. Okay, so, and then this is the final result. This is the final result. So we have this critical path, this is critical path, no new critical path. This one stopped over here. This one also stopped over here. So this is a final result. And this one showed you what is the, as I mentioned, the last two columns in the table. We draw x-axis is the project duration, y-axis is the cost. Then this is the trade-off curve, what we need. So if the owner wanted to be faster, wants the project to be faster, you can tell him. So if we can, normally we finish in 29 days, and then we need about this 23 something, and we can do much faster by finish by 22 days, but we're gonna charge them $28.50. So this is the trade-off curve. They can pick any point they want. So for duration with a matching cost over there. Okay, any questions about this example? So is there any questions about this example? So as I mentioned, the final exam, problem number 1, gonna similar to this, but I will only ask you to do 2 or at most 3 cycle of analysis. Okay, if there's no question, I'm gonna move on. Because of time, I do hope I can finish another chapter. So that means over here there is a example 7.3. I will ask you to conduct that by yourself. It's not a homework. It's just similar to the example I gave you. But this one, because of the condition of the critical path, is a little bit more complicated than the example 7.2. So in the final exam, the problem gonna be more similar to 7.2. Not 7.3. 7.3 is the exercise, it's a little bit more complicated. So the final exam problem number 1 gonna be more similar to this guy, okay? So if there's no other question, I will move on to start working on our last chapter of this semester. So the last chapter of this semester, I want to introduce you guys a little bit about arrow diagram, not very deeply, but because this arrow diagram is very popularly used before, but after the present diagram come up, so it's more easier, the logic is more straightforward, it's better express all the logic relationship. So right now, the precedence diagram is a dominant method to show the network diagram. But the arrow diagram, old schools are still using it. Some previous construction project you may see, if you want remodeling or something, you're probably gonna see some arrow diagram. So this chapter helps you to understand what arrow diagram tell you. Okay, so let's quickly go through because we only have about a little bit more than an hour. So I'm gonna go a little bit faster. So the arrow diagram is popularly used in 1960s and 70s. So it's also called activity on arrow or arrow diagram method. So the difference between arrow diagram and precedence diagram, what we have before, is this one actually node represent point of time. It's a time point. It's not before the nodes. In the precedence diagram, nodes represent activity. Over here, this one, arrow represent activity. You can see this activity B, this arrow is activity. And this arrow's tail represents the starting point, arrow's head representing the finishing point. So this one clearly shows you the beginning and end time, but however, this activity it's not as good as precedence diagram can show you the logic relationship. I will show you a little bit later. So activity relationships. So this arrow diagram also have 4 different type of relationship. Over here is one-on-one. So after finish A, I can start B, and one on multiple, multiple on 1. So this after I finish activity B, F, G, and H can start. So multiple on 1, and also 1 on multiple. So this activity G need to be finished activity A, activity B, activity C, I can start activity G. And many on many. So this one, F is rely on this 3, G is rely on this 3, H is also rely on 3. So this is multiple on multiple relationship. But it, as you can see, you can do the start to start, finish to finish, those type of logic relationship. This is one rely on one, one rely on multiple, multiple rely on one, multiple, multiple. Those are the arrow diagrams relationship. So let's see the designation of this nodes, notation of the activity. So activity, typically the arrow diagram use the node number to represent activity as the symbol of activities. For example, this activity is activity ij. So practically, if you use an arrow diagram to show the network diagram, then typically those nodes, we use numbers, node 1, node 2, node 5. So that means we use two numbers represent an activity. For example, this activity, this node I equal to 1 and j equal to 2. So this activity is activity 1-2, 1-2, activity 1-2. That's represents the activity. So typically, the I node, the tail node, is smaller than the J node, the arrow node. And then when we're numbering it, we typically leave some gaps between the number. So this allows future changes. So if in the future I want to add another activity between these two, if you have 1 and 2, you can add a node between them. So typically we leave some space like 10, 20. And in the future, if you add another node, it can be 15, something like that. And then we want to make the I and J node combination unique. So for example, activity 510 or activity 1020 represent only one activity, not multiple. I will show you what that means over here. Okay. Now, this comes another concept over here. This is the most important and the very pretty. That's why this this arrow diagram is not popularly used anymore, because arrow diagram use dummies to help express the logic relationship. Without dummies, it cannot satisfy the requirement. So let's see what is dummies. Dummies is some imaginary type of activity, not real activity. It just help to express correctly the network. So for example, over here, there's activity R, activity S, two different activities. Both start at node 10 and finish at node 15. Without dummies, this not work, because we want each activity's name is unique. So this activity R is activity 1015. This activity S is also activity 1015. So we don't want that. So the network will require us to use unique IJ node combination to express this any activity. So that's why over here we added a dummy 10, 11. This is an imaginary activity, not real, and do not need any resource, do not need any duration. So this way, add another dummy. So this one I can distinguish these two activities. One activity is 1015. The other activity is 1115. So that that tells you this is two separate activity, not single one. Otherwise, if you use 10, 15, 10, 15 over here, this shows you this 10, 15 represent two different activities. That's not allowed. Okay, that's why we need dummy. And also over here, dummy can help us represent to correctly tell the correct logic relationship. For example, there are two arrow diagrams. One I didn't use any dummy. The bottom one I did use dummy. So let's see what's the difference. Let's translate this into the precedence diagram to show what's a relationship over here. So for the first one, activity A and activity B, the activity C is rely on both A and B. So activity C is like this. And activity D is rely on the finish of both A and B as well. So if we translate this upper arrow diagram into precedence diagram, it looks like this. Let's see the bottom one. If we use a dummy over here, what is the logic relationship? So activity A, activity B. You can see the activity C is rely on the finish of A and B. So A and B is besides the C. But activity D is rely on B, but not A, because you can't go on the opposite direction of the arrow. So this one shows you activity D only rely on B. So this is why we need a dummy. So dummy can help us to clarify the true logic relationship between activities. Okay, let's see another one. Okay, so for this one, let's see, this also use a dummy to help you to clarify the logic relationship. The upper one, let's translate the upper one to precedence diagram. Activity, we have activity, oops. We have activity A, B, and C. So you can see activity D is to rely on activity A only. And activity E, based upon this relationship, is rely on A and B. And activity E over here, activity F over here is rely on A, B, and C. See, A can go here, B can go here, C also go here. So that means A, B, C, both are, all of the three are the APA of activity F. So this is the logic relationship for the upper arrow diagram. For the lower arrow diagram, the precedence diagram is look like this. So you can see they use a very complicated structure over here. So why we need that structure, what type of logic relationship is showed is like this. So we also have this A, B, and C. And over here, we have this D, E, and F. You can see D is again only rely on A. And this E, you can see it come from B and A, but not C. So it's A and B. And activity F is B and C, but not A. you can't go opposite direction of an arrow, so it's B and C. So this is the logic relationship, okay? So those are the logic relationship. You can see the difference. Actually, this one, this structure over here is a very important structure. Uh, Actually, this is a very complicated and very important one because a lot of relationship is like this. 3 activity based upon another 3. And one activity rely on a single one, the other 2 rely on 2 each. So this type of logic relationship, we have to use this three dummies can correctly represent that type of logic relationship. The single one do not have directly following that activity. And for the other pairs, the common one, the common activity. So for example, this one, both E and F rely on B. So after B, you have to add another extra dummy over here. So this dummy is very important. Later, when I teach you how to draw this diagram, arrow diagram, I will show you how to use this concept. 3 on 3, 3 activity based on another 3, and then how to use arrow diagram to draw the diagram. Okay, let's take a 10 minutes break, and after that we come back, keep working on our arrow diagram topic. Okay, let's start working on this arrow diagram. Okay, so let's see. So the third use of dummies. So as I mentioned earlier, dummies can help you to distinguish 2 different activities by using 2 different names. So second one is dummies can help you to clarify the activity relationship, logic relationship between activities. And then the third dummy function is, as you can see over here, as I mentioned, the dummy is used by some old schools. So old schools, they prefer to use a single activity as a starting activity of the whole project, and a single activity as the ending activity, finishing activity of the whole project. That's why, so if if a project have several activity can start together, can start at the same time, and then but those old schools prefer use a single one, so they add a dummy over here and over here as a single starting point and finishing point over here. So that's the third function of dummies. Okay, so let's see. Let's see this example. So this example, for this example, I have used 4 dummies over here. So the dummy number 1, D1, what is that used for? Is that used for function 1 to distinguish 2 activities, or function 2 to clarify relationships, or function 3, I want to use a single activity as a starting or finishing finishing point. So 1 or 2 or 3 for D1. So the way you're going to tell is to find by this. If we don't have this dummy, then this point going to move here. So this line, oops. So this line can, come on. This line, instead of go there, will go here. So you can see this activity, set up a batch plant, and this activity, excavate and grid overpasses. These two, both activity gonna be called activity 1030 and 1030. So this is dummy's function 1. Dummy 1 is function 1 to distinguish two activities. So what about D2? D2 is function 1 or 2 or 3. Function 1 is to distinguish two activity. Function 2 is to clarify logic relationship. Function 3 is to use a single starting or ending point. So for D2, this dummy, D2 over here, what's a function that is? So this one is for clarify logic relationship. Because if this point is, if without this dummy, this point is over here, then that means this activity pour over passes will be start over here. Then that is rely on this activity. This activity is serious. Actually, this one is not rely on those group of activities. So this dummy number 2 is to help you clarify the logic relationship. So what about dummy number 3? So dummy number 3 is easy. Without dummy number 3, then what's gonna happen? So dummy number 3 is for what purpose? 1, 2, or 3? Anyone? So dummy number 3 is for function number 1 again. So without dummy number 3, this point gonna come here. Then you can see this cut joints and the dress shoulders. Those two activity will have the same starting and finishing node. So that will be the same name. That's not allowed. So that one is for distinguish these two different activity. What about dummy number 4, D4? This D4, what function is that? Yes, yes. Number 3 is correct. D4 is for 3. We want a single activity as the starting and the finishing activity. Okay, so very good. Okay, this is a simple example. Now, the hard part is over here. Okay, how are we gonna draw? Use a table to draw the arrow diagram. Okay, this is I will show you how to do that. This is To draw an arrow diagram, use a precedence table. For precedence diagram in chapter 3 is kind of straightforward. But over here, arrow diagram, because we need to figure out where to use dummies, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. So that's why the arrow diagram is not popularly used anymore. This is one major reason, because the logic relationship, if you want to make it clear, then you have to use a lot of dummies. This blocks the popular use of this arrow diagram. Okay, let me give you some example to show you how to draw this anyway. So for this activity, the table, this is dependent activity relationship table. You can see from over here, this B, C, D is rely on A. So to draw that, we need to draw like this. I will draw over here. So this is my let's see, my activity A is my starting point, because activity A doesn't rely on anything. And then you add a node. So what rely on A? B, C, and D are all rely on A. So we draw activity B, activity C, and activity D rely on A. And then based upon D, we have E, F, and G. So we have this E, activity F, and activity G. E, F, G is rely on D. Okay. Next, it's H. H is rely on 3. One on multiple. B, C, and E to a single place. B, C, and E to a common activity H. So, but over here, you can see if I draw this to this point, you can see this B and C gonna share the same starting and finishing point. That's not allowed. You cannot have two nodes, two activity share the same starting node and the finishing node. So what shall we do over here? Excuse me. So what shall we do over here? Add a dummy, very good, very good. We add a dummy, add a node over here, add a dummy to here. This way, B and C are different activities. So, and also over here, B, C, and B, C, and E gonna come out of H. So we finished over here. Next one is I is rely on F and G. I is F and G is go to I. I is F and G. Again, there need another. Yes, yes. Add another dummy. Yes. So there's another dummy over here. Go to I. Okay. And the next one over here, F and G go to I. And next one, B. So J is rely on B only. So this is my J. Okay, next one is a complicated one. You can see KLM is rely on H, I, and J. This is a 3 activity. It depends on other 3. So 3-on-3 relationship. 3-on-3 relationship. One activity is rely on another one. So you can see the M is rely on I only. So M is rely on I only. And the other is pairs. So 3-on-3, one is on one, the other 2 on another 2 pairs. That's the logic. If we want this logic relationship, remember what I showed you, the 3 dummies combination over here to correctly address this relationship, 3-on-3. One activity on one, the other 2 on 2. So that one needs that 3 dummy activities relationship, complicated one. So how to draw that? As I mentioned, the key point is after the 2-on-2 relationship, there is a common activity over here. So K and L are HI, HJ. So H is a common activity over here. That means after H, we need a dummy. This is the key dummy to stretch out this relationship. After H, we need a dummy over here. Then we can straightforward. H and I go to K. So over here, H and I go to K. This is my K. And then H and J go to L. Now we have that 3 dummy combination. 3 dummy combination. You can see this one, H and J go to L, and this H and I go to K, and I itself go to M. It's exactly same as what we needed. Okay, this is no space anymore. Last one is easy. KLM is go to N. So the last one, so this one go here, this one go here, add another node, and this one is, last one is the N, activity N. Okay, so the hard thing, the most difficult thing is this 3-on-3 relationship over here in this area. This 3 dummies combination over here. Without that, you cannot get this relationship correct. So this part is very, very important, and it is the hardest part. It is the hardest part to draw this diagram. Do you need a node at the arrow side? No, actually the node is same node over here, because you can see this L and the K do not have the same starting and finishing point. So for several activity point to the single node, that's allowed. That's a multiple on one relationship. So that's allowed. What is not allowed is just for 2 activity have the same, exactly same starting and finishing point. So for L and K and M, all their starting point are same. So the ending point is same, it's okay. Okay, so that's why it's allowed over here. Okay. So let's see if there's any other questions. Do we have lab today? Yes, we do. But however, if you already finished the lab assignment 6, you got everything finished already. You don't have any new assignment to need to finish. Then you finish all the lab work. So you don't have to be there. This lab is the last lab session. Is for the student who haven't finished the 6 lab assignment yet, for those students to catch up. Okay, so today is a free lab. If you didn't finish everything, you need to finish your work, because next week I will ask Drew to grade your 6 lab assignment together. And if you already finished, you don't have to be there all the time. Okay, so it's a free lab today. Okay, any questions about this example? It's a little bit hard. So I will guarantee you for the final exam, this won't be, to draw an arrow diagram won't be a 30-point problem, because it's kind of hard. Okay, let's see if we have time, I can let you do practice, but right now it seems we don't have time to do the in-class exercise. You can record this, and then I provided 16.2 and 16.3, two in-class exercise. You can practice if you want. So there's 2. In class, we will not have time to do that together. So you can just, record this answer over here, and later you can use this as an example and do more practice. This is a hard question. That's why, because of the dummies, because of the arrow diagram is hard to draw, so it's not that popularly used anymore. Okay. If you finish that, I will talk about our last example. Okay. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to cover is to do this calculation, duration calculation using arrow diagram. Duration calculation using arrow diagram. In chapter 3, we did the duration calculation use precedence diagram. Precedence diagram, we calculated early start, early finish, late start, late finish, free flow, total flow. Excuse me. Over here, we have the same thing to calculate it. For each activity, we need to calculate the early start, early finish, late start, late finish, and the free flow, total flow. In addition, because I mentioned each node represents a time point. So we're gonna calculate the early and the late of that time point. So it's the early time of a node and the late time of a node. Actually, to do this actual calculation, actually help you to simplify the calculation procedure, not add more stuff. It simplifies the procedure actually. Equations is like this. So same as before, we need to do the forward pass first, and then backward pass. Forward pass to calculate the early time, early finish, and early time of the node. And then backward pass, we need to calculate the late time, late finish, late start, late finish, and late time of the node. And then last step is to calculate the total float and the free float. So same as before, the early start equal to, the early finish equal to early start plus duration, same as before. And then the node, the time for the node, early start equal to the I node, the beginning node's early time, okay? And the early time of the J node is equal to the early finish time of an activity. So that means for the beginning node, that node's early time equal to that early start. And you calculate the early finish, you can put in that in that early time of the J node. Okay, I will use the example to show you how to do this calculation. And then the finish time, the late time, calculate similarly. So we decide the late time of the node, the final node first, and the late finish equal to that late time of the J node, and the late start equal to late finish minus duration, and then the late time of the I node, the beginning node, equal to the late start. If you have multiple, select the smallest one. Okay, and float is easier to calculate. Same as before, is the total float is easy to calculate. You just use late time minus early time. It's a late start minus early start, or late finish minus early finish, give you same result. Free float, over here, free float is easier. You don't have to calculate something like a lag number. There's no lag number because there's no connection line. So what we need to do is just use the early time of the J node, the ending node, minus the early finish time, So ETJ minus EF. I will show you how to do that. So this arrow diagram's duration calculation, especially for the free float, is easier than the precedence diagram. Let me use an example to show you how to do this calculation. So this is example 16-4. I want to calculate the duration of this network. So given information is the duration of each activity writing over here. This 1, 9, 5, 4, 1, those are activity duration. And this 1, 2, 3, those are node numbers, not duration. Those are node numbers, not duration, not time point. This is node numbers. And this 1 over here is the early time of node 1. So if this is 1, over here, this activity, early start is 1. If this early start is 1 plus 2, you got early finish plus 1 is 2. If this is 2, the early time of node 2 equal to this number, equal to the early finish number. So this is 2. The early time is 2. So if this early time is 2, then this activity, early start is 2. This activity, early start is 2. Okay, 2 plus 9, this one early finish is 11. 2 plus 5, this activity early finish is 7. So if this is 7, in this node, this is 7. So if this is 7, early time is 7, then the early start for the following activities are 7. This is a dummy. A dummy do not have duration, do not have resource. So if this is 7 plus 0, this is 7. 7 plus 4, this is 11. Now let's see this one. This one have 2 come to it. This one, earliest time can finish this guy is day 11. The earliest time can finish this one is day 7. Then what is the earliest time I have this point? This point. You should use the larger number, 11. Very good. Use 11. Use a larger number. So there, this is 11. If this is 11, automatically here is 11. So, but to get this, because 2 arrows come to it, we have to decide this first. So this one, if this is 11, over here, this 11. This is 11, this is 11. So 11, this is dummy. Dummy is 0. So this is 11. 11 plus 6, this is 17. Early finish of this touch up is 17. So over here, 11 plus 5, over here, early finish is 16. 16 and 11, again, we pick the larger number for this early time of node. So that is 16. So if this is 16 over here, this is 16. 16 plus 4, this is 20. 20 and 17, I need to compare and find the larger one. This is 20. Okay, so if this is 20 over here, this is 20 plus 1, this is 21. So over here, this early time is 21. Okay, the total duration of this whole project is 20 days. This is early morning of day 21. Okay, that's early start, early finish, and early time. Each step, we just calculate the early time of the node. One step of actual calculation. Other than that, everything is same as before, same as the precedence diagram. Okay, and then let's go back to calculate the late start, late finish. So the late time of the node, let's put 21 over here, same as before. If this is 21 over here, this is 21. 21 minus 1, this is 20. Then in this node, this late time is 20. If this is 20, automatically this is 20, this is 20. So 20 minus 4, this is 16. And 20 minus 6, this is 14. Okay, if this is 16 over here, this is 16. 16, then here is 16, here is 16. This is a dummy. Dummy is 0, so over here, this is 16. You can see 2 come back to this guy. 2 come back to this guy. If 2 come back to this guy, I should pick a larger number or a smaller number over here. This one, the latest start time is 16. This one, the latest time I have to start is 14. So this node point has to be at least 14. Very good. The smaller number, 14. Okay, so over here, we put 14 over here. Okay, and if this is 16, this is 16 minus 5, this is 11, then this is 11. Over here, this is 11. Then this is dummy, this is 11. Over here, if this is 14, over here, this is 14 because early finish time, the late finish time should be equal to that late time in the node. So this is 14 minus 4 is 10. So over here, this is 11, this is 10. So you can see 2 come back over here. Then we pick smaller number. This is 10. If this is 10, this is 10. 10 minus 5 over here, this is 5. Over here, this is 11. This is 11. 11 minus 9, this is 2. So we have 2 and 5. Compare, find the smaller one. This is 2. So if this is 2, over here, the late finish time is 2. 2 minus 1, this is 1. Then this node is 1. So we finished the late start, late finish. So everything is same as before. It's just you need to calculate on each node what is the late time. Other than that, everything is same as before in precedence diagram. The other thing is the location you put it over here. So location is, the designation is early start, early finish, late start, and late finish. Okay, above the line is early times. Below the line are the finishing times. Okay, now we have the early start, early finish, late start, late finish. Now we can calculate the free float, total float. Total float is easier. We add on each line, we add a slash over here to mark below the duration, so we can mark the total float and the free float. Let's mark the total float. Total float is the right hand, we write it at the right hand side of the slash. So this one use the late time minus early time. Late time minus early time over here, use the finishing time 2 minus 2, this is 0. 11 minus 11, 0. 16 minus 16, 0. 20 minus 20, 0. 21 minus 21, 0. Over here, 20 minus 17, this is 3. This one is 14 minus 11, this one is 3. 10 minus 7, this one is 3. Okay, that's a total float, very easy to calculate. Over here, free float is also very easy to calculate. You just need use early time in the node. Early time in the node minus the early finish time. So this one, 2 minus 2 over here. 2 minus 2 is 0. This one, 11, use the 11 early time in the node minus the early finish time, 11. This one is 0. And 16 minus 16, this one is 0. This 20 minus 20, this one is 0. 21 minus 21, this one is 0. Over here, this one, use the 20 in the node minus the early finish. So this one, 20 minus 17, this one is 3. And this is 11 in the node is 11. The early finish is 11. So this one is 0. This one over here is 7 minus the early finish is 7. So this is 0. So we finish all the calculation. As you can see, to calculate the to calculate the free float is easier, even easier than the precedence diagram. So apparently, those critical paths is this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy, with all the free float and total float are all zeros. Okay, so for the arrow diagrams duration calculation, the complexity is about same as the precedence diagram. No more, not more, not more difficult. So, but to draw the arrow diagram, it does need a lot of dummies. So the logic relationship part is a little bit more difficult than the precedence diagram. As I mentioned, that's why this is method is not popularly used anymore. Okay, give you 1 second, half minutes to write down the numbers for this example, and then it seems we still have 10 minutes, so we can do a in-class exercise example 16.5 together over here. Okay, give you half minute to write down everything on this page. Then I will turn to next page to let you to do an exercise. By the way, next week gonna be the dead week. So typically we use that week to do the presentation for our final project. But this semester, because I canceled the final project. So next week we will have no class. If you have question, you can just email me. So the only thing we have left is the final exam. Okay, if you are finished this one, I will clear all the drawings I have and let you to do in-class exercise of this. So you can work on this. So similar type of diagram, you can practice how to do the duration calculation. Date and time. Let me check out, find that. It's gonna be May 6th, Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. I will set up a Zoom time for everybody. Wednesday, May 6th, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. The final exam will be, let's do this. Final exam will, let me make it easier. Again, the fill in the blanks gonna be comprehensive, but the three calculations will only covers chapter 7, chapter 10, and the chapter 16. Only the three chapters. Okay, only three chapters. Chapter 7 is the money related trade-off analysis, and the chapter 10 is that easy one, the management, the status, ahead of schedule, behind schedule calculation, and the arrow diagram, this chapter. So will be the three. The example will be similar. I will say I will use 7.7-2 is problem number 1. And the other one, probably I will use a similar one in the quiz number 2 for the third problem that, ahead of schedule, behind schedule calculation will be problem number 2. But as I mentioned, the fill in the blanks will be comprehensive. Uh, 7.2 and quiz number 2's problem number 3. Earned value, chapter 10, earned value. because earned value, that chapter is relatively easier. Still final. Let me find that out later during our steel class. Problem number 3, I will not tell you, but that will be something from chapter 7, 10, and 16. Some problem, some example problem, some exercise problem from these 3 chapters. And fill in the blanks gonna be, fill in the blanks gonna be comprehensive. All the chapters I have covered. Okay, so for this exercise, did anybody finish that yet? Right. No homework and no more class, and we cancel the final project. I will give everybody 10 out of 10 for the final project, and only the final exam is left. Can't understand what you mean. Okay, so anyone finished this example yet? Yeah, I can, actually I can scan and post my answer if you want to check the correct answer. But I do want you to practice by yourself first for this arrow diagram duration calculation. And I think it's time. And then today, as I mentioned, it's, this lab is not mandatory. If we don't, I will not assign any new lab assignment. If you already finish everything, you don't have to be here. But Taju will help you to finish the previous 6 lab assignments together. Okay, Taju, and I think after a 5 minutes break, the time is yours.
Okay, Professor.